Hello, and welcome to another edition of Seoul in My Soul, my podcast based on my life in Korean and Korean American culture. I am An Beun. Today is going to be a question. It's a question that people ask, and just off the bat, it is more of a topic for Korean American culture than Korean culture. In Korea, this isn't a term that I heard, and I don't really hear Korean people in Korea saying this term, but in Korean American culture, you'll find it often, and it is the word Konglish. So, what is Konglish? Konglish is kind of like Spanglish. Spanglish, if you're familiar, is Spanish and English. Konglish is Korean and English. But Konglish can take on a meaning of its own, and so there's two ways in which Konglish is spoken. One way is a person literally going back and forth as far as sentences go. So you can, or even a phrase. So you can say, 안녕하세요, how are you? 안녕하세요 is Korean greeting. It literally means, are you in peace? But in modern, I wouldn't say necessarily in modern Korean, but younger generation Korean, 안녕하세요, excuse me, 안녕하십니까, takes on more of a meaning of hi or hello. And so, if you're going back and forth between phrases in English and Korean, 안녕하세요, formal way of saying hi. And then, how are you doing today? Speaking English, asking how the person is doing. That can be a back and forth between the two languages that is technically considered Konglish, or somebody asks you how you're doing. Oh, 배고파요. I need to eat lunch. So you're expressing how you're feeling one way in Korean and then emphasizing it again by what you say in English. So two languages there would be considered speaking in Konglish. So for some Korean Americans, you'll see that where they'll be talking to another Korean American, or they'll be talking to somebody whose first language is English, but they know some Korean. And so they'll express a thought in Korean and then they'll re-emphasize it by what they say in English. Or they'll try to explain it in English so that they make it clear what they're saying. That form of Konglish, in my experience, I've seen a lot more from people who are Korean and who technically are fluent in Korean, but they grew up more in an English environment, so they're more comfortable with English. They speak English better, and those are the people that normally they get nervous about going to Korea because then they have to speak Korean all the time, and that thought scares them because they don't speak proper Korean. So sometimes the Korean people that do that can be a little bit more uptight, I would say. And so, take that with a grain of salt. Just depends on the person. But that is one form of speaking Konglish. So their Korean in America would be fluent. Their Korean in Korea could be upper intermediate, but not exactly fluent. Not exactly up to date with changes in more modern Korean. The other example of speaking Konglish is going to be where Korean words are inserted into an English sentence. This is something that happens sometimes when a Korean person is speaking to another Asian person, and sometimes that gets very confusing or annoying to people because you're randomly throwing in words that people don't understand. And so an example of a sentence or a thought in English where it's being put in Konglish would be, I went to the Haegwan to go speak to the Chanlo, and then after the Chanlo did his Yeonso, he did some Kido, and the Kido was 잘했어요. And then after Kido 후에, we went to the Noraebang, and then after the Noraebang, we went to the Kimbap Cheonguk, and then we went out for some soju, and it was a really good day. So if you understand Korean, you understand part of what I said. And I'll say that again. I went to the Haegwan, I went and spoke to the Chanlo. The Chanlo, he did a Yeonso. After his Yeonso, he did Kido, Yeonso, Kido Hue. We went to the Noraebang. After the Noraebang, we went to the Kimbap Cheonguk. The Kimbap Cheonguk, we had some soju. It was a really good day. So if you don't know Korean, you don't know where I went, you don't know who I spoke to, you don't know what he did, you don't know what happened. If you do know Korean, then you get the point. That is a level of Konglish that a lot of younger Korean Americans, I would say Korean Americans mid-30s and lower, when I talk to them, that's how they speak. Unless they're talking about something that they don't want someone else to know about, then all of a sudden they'll try to switch to fully Korean. When they switch to fully Korean, sometimes it's good Korean, sometimes it's not good Korean. It just depends on the person's Korean level. But that Konglish where you're just throwing in random words and you're speaking in Korean, that sometimes annoys people more than just saying the sentence directly in Korean, because they kind of understand but they don't. So again, in Korea, it's more, at least in my experience with the people I talked to, either I spoke only Korean and some English, but it was more Korean sentence, English sentence structure. But in Korean American culture, that's when I would hear, and that's when I would more say something along the lines of an English sentence, but insert Korean words. And this is most common when people are talking about other people. Not in that they're talking about them in a bad way, but, you know, if somebody asks me, you know, how's your grandmother? If we're speaking Konglish, it would be, oh, how's your 할머니? 할머니 okay? 할머니 is Korean word for grandmother. So, stuff like that. Or, how did the 아저씨 do? You know, how is your appa? How is your nuna? You know, have you seen Hyung lately? These are all referring to people, and if you know Korean sentence structure and you know Korean conversation in general, it's implied that the person knows who you're talking about. So, in Korean, you don't necessarily have to say how is your grandmother doing. You can just say 할머니 괜찮아요. That's the type of sentence structure. But in Konglish, you know, how is your, and then you insert the Korean title. So, as you're learning Korean, you may start to speak more Konglish, just putting pieces together, and then as you feel more comfortable putting your sentences together in Korean, then you start to switch over to maybe the Konglish where you're expressing a thought totally in Korean and then saying it again in English until you become more fluent. But that's typically how Konglish goes in the ways you would use Konglish in the United States. It might confuse people in Korea, but in the United States, you can get by and you can communicate with people in Korean American culture, and for the most part, they'll understand you. Thanks for tuning in. As always, you can email me at contact@waygookinway.com or at soulandmysoul@waygookinway.com. Be sure to look at the description box where you can see my social media links, how to contact me, and please like and share this video with as many people as possible, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for tuning in, and always remember, the best way to live out your dreams is to get rid of your nightmares. Talk to you later. Goodbye.